All right. Today we're joined by Ashok. He's the mastermind behind YogaFit Studios. And it's just my total pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
I have been an admirer. We've tried to get you into a couple of spaces. We haven't done a deal yet, but we will. But I also watched, you on social media and all of the positive things that you're doing in the community, and you just have such a positive vibe to you. And we hadn't met in person, but we learned just shortly a few weeks ago that you're my neighbors with my daughter.
Yes.
And that's so fun. Yes. She talks about this guy that she met that's super nice, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I know of him. I got to get him on my podcast.
And there we are.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
So you haven't always been in yoga. You
never did a yoga class before I bought
really
8 yoga franchises.
You're kidding. No. Oh, that's a little crazy. But you had a really corporate background. United Health Group, Target. You had a really successful. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And how did you go from corporate to yoga?
Yeah, I think it stemmed really from my parents owning privately owned businesses, independent retail stores, one at a time in New York City. And so I started working at a very early age, probably at the age of 5. And then realized that other people pay you eventually. But my parents perfected child labor, and but what I learned, quite honestly, was you can really make a difference very easily in retail. You can either make policies that make it so challenging, whether it's a return, whether it's just payment. There's just so many different things, like a hotel as well. That would be my other dream job, because you could just make somebody's day very easily, and that costs a lot. So I've always loved retail because you could actually get to deal with every customer that has a different day and a different experience. So fast forward, as I went into the corporate careers of Arthur Andersen and Target and United Health Group, on the other end of it, I thought, maybe it's time for me to go look for my own business. And so I looked at different franchises, because my father's and my mother's businesses were independent, so I didn't know anything about franchising. And I looked at privately owned businesses through Sunbelt and things like that, a flower store, something retail focused, B2C. And kind of stumbled upon Calling Snap Fitness, based in Minneapolis and Chanhassen. And they said, well, we're saturated here, we're from here, but we're starting this new concept called YogaFit Studios. And the whole mission is to make yoga and fitness more accessible. So I said, well, what does that mean? And they partnered with a woman, her name is Beth Shaw, that owns the brand. And her whole mission over the last 20 years was to do teacher training. She actually has trained over 300,000 people worldwide.
Wow.
But it's like, how do you get people like me that have never done a yoga class in my life to actually do yoga? And so that was the whole premise of it. So I said, well, that sounds interesting. It seems like a nice model, So what I ended up doing was going to different competitors and realized it wasn't really the yoga side of it, or it was the customer service. And it was just intimidating. And it's a very intimidating sport, is what I tell people, and it shouldn't be, because everyone that does a yoga class always comes out feeling better. Unlike going to a dentist, people know they have to do that, but they usually don't feel better going in or coming out. But yoga, it's just very interesting that the psychology of a person that doesn't want to do yoga, for example, most of my male friends, if I ask them to do yoga, they'll say they're not flexible enough. And I'll say, well, have you just listened to what you just said? How are you going to get flexible? And beyond the approachability, there was other constraints. One was yoga and fitness are very expensive, typically $180 a month, give or take. We are averaging about $85 a month. We have basically 4 pillars. One was, affordability, which I just mentioned, just really trying to we do discounts for nurses, K through 12 teachers,
I saw
students,
that. That's so
honorable. All nonprofit employees. So it's really fun to be able to have a 25-year-old that's a social worker be able to come to classes 3-4 times a week for $85.
I love that.
So whereas I think the industry itself wasn't ready for that. They can't afford $160. Same as students. A 10% discount on $160 is not $85. And so we have a ton of U of M students that go to our Northeast studio, and it's just fun to see that. So affordability was one. Second thing was availability. So we actually have 6 different formats of yoga and fitness classes. So we have a flow 1, a flow 2, restorative, which men will start in because it's dark. We also have bar, burn, and hit. And so the only company that actually has all of our formats is Lifetime. And so a lot of the other yoga studios don't have a bar class. Bar studios are $200 plus a month. And so to be able to have all those formats available for an affordable price really intrigues people. And then the third thing is just that approachability that I mentioned to you. I realized I just got to hire really nice people versus really good teachers, because in the lobby is where they meet people like me that have never done it before and like hesitating getting out of their car.
Right.
And we always say getting to the first class is the hardest part. Not taking the class, it's just pulling up and getting out of your car.
Sure.
And so that was really fun to be able to just hire really nice people, and that's what we get compliments on all the time is your teacher's so nice, And then the fourth thing was giving back to the community. Being at Target for 15 years, I understood that it was important to do, and it's a lot of fun. So we try to donate. We probably donate about 30 gift certificates a week to different nonprofits, and it educates me a lot on different nonprofits I've never heard about before. We also do things like Bend It at Brits. We did that last night and had over 100
What was
people.
that?
Bend It at Brits. So Brits Pub downtown.
Oh,
where we have a
fun.
community event that's free to everybody. Before COVID, we'd have 500 people doing yoga with a DJ, and everyone just has a great time.
I didn't know that was you that does that. I've wanted to do that.
A different company did it before, but they wanted to charge people, and Brits said no, and we said no, so he gave it to us.
That's
So it's all free
awesome.
for everybody. But yeah, during COVID, it's 500 people. If you see a picture of that, that's a fun time.
That is,
Yeah.
I have seen a picture of that.
Last
Yeah.
time we had over 100, so it's still, being that it was
There's
COVID.
something really powerful about community
Yeah, yeah.
when everybody comes together to kind of
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's really neat. And it
Yeah.
doesn't hurt that it's about a bar.
Yeah,
There's a bar
it's
below.
beautiful. But we even did a fundraiser when they had, the fire in it. We did a fundraiser for their staff,
Oh.
so it all kind of goes around. And it's just, at the end, it's all fun, and everyone has a good time and feels good about themselves. And we do a 1 hour very hard workout during the entire time. So sometimes with a drink on the side, but it's still a lot of fun.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So the community thing is actually what I think helped us actually get through COVID. So we had a lot of members that stayed with us. We did a ton of virtual classes, but we closed on March 16th at 1 p.m. and it's been 32 months, give or take a few weeks, and never thought it'd last this long. And I think I read that Anytime Fitness, which is based here, found that 50% of all gyms and yoga studios would close permanently in the state of Minnesota. And we were closed for 7 months out of the first 20, and longest closed business out of any business in the entire state of Minnesota.
fitness, the fitness category.
Yeah, longer than the restaurants, longer than everything. And so it really hurt because I think, especially with the mental side of it, that's what people really wanted, but they wouldn't join because the closures were so sporadic. Nobody could really commit to anything.
Yeah, there was never any clarity as to
Yep.
what was going to happen.
What was going to happen the next day?
Yeah.
I thought it last 2 weeks myself,
I was in that camp
Yeah,
for
so-
sure. It's sad that we still have to talk about it. I kind of want to just be done with that, but
Yeah,
it's
I think it'll be another year before businesses, at least on the fitness side, will rebound. I think a big part of us staying is that we've had really good partners in our landlords that have understood we have to start all over again, and they've been great to us, just trying to help us 3 months at a time, see how we're doing, help us a little bit more, and keep us going. So whereas the ones that have closed either retired, a lot of them are. The owner is the yoga teacher, so now they're doing both. I mean, I probably spent 50% of my time doing paperwork for the SBA and PPP and EIDL and learning all these different loans and grants for the first 2 years. So if I had to teach as well, which I don't teach, I just take classes, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now too.
Yeah.
It gets tiring
wow.
for a small business owner in general. And then people always say, well, take out more debt. Well, small business owner doesn't want to take out more debt.
No.
We have enough.
We want to
Right.
bootstrap. Yeah.
So we got to fight back.
And you have 4 locations.
We have 4. Yep, we bought 8 franchise territories, which is basically the state of Minnesota, the metro area right now. But we have rights to, the first couple of rings outside of Minneapolis. We have 4 studios: 1 in Loring Park, 1 in Linden Hills, 1 in Northeast Minneapolis, and our newest one's in Uptown. And we have 4 more to go. So right now we're just trying to get the first 4 back in track, and then we'll expand as we find partners that want a yoga studio and a fitness studio in their building.
Yeah. And can you do one-off classes, or is it all monthly membership?
We do everything. So we do a drop-in, we do a 10-pack. Sometimes people want a 5-pack. I just make one for them. We have people that are laid off. We just give them a free month because they are going to quit and they need help. We have monthly, we have annual. So we basically have every option that somebody needs. And we go back and forth because a lot of people will be monthly, but then they'll travel. So we switch them to a punch card. Goes back to the customer service part. It's a lot easier to do that, and they stay with us because of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of places make it very hard. If they want to cancel, you have to come in and give them a reason. Or if you want a good example in our industry is if you pause your membership at most of the gyms and yoga studios, they charge you $10 a month, but you're never coming in.
Right.
So then you're going to cancel. So we don't ever charge for that.
Right.
So then they stay with us.
Yeah.
So some of it's just, policies make things harder
Yeah.
And if you
And that goes back to what you said earlier about that retail
it's just so much easier
experience. Yeah.
and everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So, and they stay with us. So, and that's during COVID. I was alluding to with the community side, because we had done and we continued to do as much as we can do with donations, and we do private classes. We donate private. We're doing one tonight actually for our school, which is Carondelet. So they bid on a private class, and then we have wine and cheese and snacks afterwards for 30 people, and we pay for the whole thing. And then they bid on it, and they have a great time, and we get exposure to new people. So it's kind of a win-win. But during COVID, we had so many members that just paid us, did a few virtual classes. Again, we weren't at the $160 price point, so it was a little bit, less than, painful for some people. And they just stayed with us. And a lot of what I heard was because I give back to the community, they want to stay with us.
And honestly, like I said, I've seen so much evidence of that, and everybody. I mean, it's really, it's really honorable. I mean, just, I think you'll achieve lots of success just because, we all wish that for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
What comes around goes
I didn't
around.
think that would actually help us get through COVID, but it probably really was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Besides the landlords being helpful.
Yeah. What do you see when you think you'll be in a position to even start opening new stores? I mean, I know you're always looking, but how long is this COVID headache gonna keep with you?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I wish we didn't have that question, but
I know. I wish I didn't have to talk about it.
I think optimistically, I'd say probably at least 6 months. I think realistic, it'd be a year, and I think that's a lot of small businesses in general. You think about, a clothing store or retail in general. You're fighting with some big players like Amazon for a brick and mortar type product, a clothing store. I mean, people were trained to order online. The good thing about YogaFit is they can't do yoga and fitness online. Even Peloton, when they came out, it's a $3,000 price point, right? So not a U of M student can't afford it. And as soon as the studios are open, those are the studios that were busiest because it was a 22-year-old in an apartment that couldn't afford it, even couldn't fit a Peloton in their apartment. So it kind of helped us a lot, being affordable. But I think it's going to take a while. The whole industry is shifting now. You read everything about Peloton. It was like Apple day one, and now it's not. F45, went from $22 a share to $2, laying off people like left and right. So I think it's sort of this .com type of error, but we just keep focusing on what we're good at and don't stretch our teachers out too much, and just focus on customer service.
How do you find staff? I mean, that's a challenge too in this economy. And it is interesting because the YogaFit brand is a company that, like you had mentioned, they were just doing teacher training, right? And then you guys
We partnered with them, to create it more of a brick and mortar for regular people like me,
right?
That don't want to train to be a teacher, but want to practice yoga in a welcoming environment. And to answer your question, the good thing about Minneapolis is there's a lot of gyms and studios that actually make a lot of money off of teacher training. So we get their graduates because they don't hire them all, but we also have our fitness training. So for example, Lifetime, Core Power, other ones will do a lot of teacher training for yoga, and we'll find them that way. And then, but on the fitness, on yoga, burn, and bar, we actually have our own training. So a certified training, so we were able to kind of complement that and keep that going. And bars are our most popular format, so it's kind of nice that we kind of control our own pool of teachers that way.
Interesting.
And we're typically 25% of a training that you get anywhere else.
Oh, okay.
So
neat.
It's a lot more affordable because we look at it as getting teachers, not making money off the training.
Right.
So
interesting. And the YogaFit brand was national. Now it's not as national,
Yes.
and it was part of Snap Fitness. It isn't part of Snap
Right.
Fitness,
It's been
or
it's been
like
6
Lift
years.
Brands
Lift
or whatever.
Brands, yeah.
Help me understand how that all
Sure.
kind of comes together.
It had started about 7 years ago in a partnership with Snap Fitness, and then the person that owns the brand, YogaFit, that does a lot of the training worldwide. And their whole mission was to make yoga and fitness more accessible. They thought, let's bring it into a brick and mortar. The person that owned the brand understood yoga. Snap Fitness, which is brick and mortar, understood franchising. So it's kind of like Reese's Peanut Butter. They kind of were nice together. And over the years, they had also acquired Steel Fitness at the time. They own a company called 9 Round Kickboxing. They own software companies, so they changed their name from Snap to Lift Brands because they had so many different brands. Fast forward a few years, especially with COVID, they realized that Snap Fitness really needed to, their whole business model was international. And so their growth for their overall business was Snap Fitness internationally.
Really?
And so they actually gave us back the franchise. We were the franchisee, then we became the franchisor, because over the years also, a lot of the ones that were open in different states had closed for various reasons, whether it's brand equity or the ownership wasn't the right one, or the location was bad, which you can appreciate. So, we were lucky because we had 3 at 4 now, where we could have some economies of scale. And I learned that from my Target days, because I was in the Target clinics business when I left.
Oh, really?
And the whole thing was making sure we had at least 4 in a market, because otherwise it made no sense from a brand equity perspective, advertising, those types of things where you get a lot of economies of scale. So I stole that from them.
Yeah, we used to say that you either need to open 1 or 10.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the businesses that go from 1 to 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It's really hard, especially if that business owner is running that business.
Yeah.
And now they're spreading themselves super thin, and it makes it really hard.
And also, I think Snap Fitness was always like typical a lot of businesses, they're absentee ownerships. So I think a lot of people thought they could not be involved like I am. Like, I'm in it every day. I take class every day. So having that absentee mindset doesn't help run a yoga studio, which is, deal with people. It's not a 24/7 come in and lift some weights and leave. You actually have to talk to people. So I think that also was probably something that didn't help some of those owners.
So, do you have any fun stories of kind of your yoga team or yoga customers? Just, I feel like you create such a sense of community. There has to be some stories of like people just really, are there groups that just always make the same times so they can chat? I mean, you can't really chat during yoga, but I just feel like
it is fun because it's so community focused, but there are people that will take classes every time. And so we actually introduce them, because like you spend 5 hours a week together, you already know each other's names. So one of the big things the reason I had bought the franchise, I realized the competitors had never asked me if I did my name and never asked me if I did yoga. So my wife said, well, you're Indian, you invented it. They probably figured you knew what a downward dog was. I said, no idea what it was. I even asked my teacher, I'm like, nobody really understands what a chaturanga is. Like, just show us what it is. Like, the average person does not know what a chaturanga is. So I had to
Namaste.
I had to kind of dumb it down a little bit for our teachers to like, okay, we're regular people. We can always build up, but don't assume that everyone knows yoga. So we ask them their name. We ask them, if they've done yoga before, or fitness classes, if they've got injuries. So we try to get to know them a little bit more in the lobby. What happens then is after the class or something, we'll introduce them to each other, or they'll see each other, and then all of a sudden they're going to concerts together. It's pretty funny to watch. Even it happened today, where people are like, oh my God, I know you from because it's very, people aren't traveling very far. It might be 3, 4, or 5 blocks in every location.
Really?
They probably won't even go more than 10 blocks, maybe.
Really?
Yeah, it's very dense. It's very community focused. They're still late, even though it's 5 blocks away.
Oh, that would be me.
Yeah, so it's like free parking everywhere. It's still late. But even today, like they're like, oh my God, I know you're joined, and so it's fun to I sit back and I listen. Like, oh, when did you join? Oh, I'm trying out a free week and that kind of thing. We give everyone a free week of classes. All the free month gift certificates we donate, and so we got this very interesting pool of people that come in. So it's pretty fun to watch.
That is fun.
Yeah.
Well, so where do you see like the density going with the brand? You said people are kind of a 10-block radius.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that leaves a lot of blocks that, what's important in the location, in choosing the right location for your stores to work, or
I think
your
there's
studios?
a couple of things for me personally. I want to be able to get to any studio within 15 to 20 minutes myself at this point. It might change over the next few years, but I want to be able to go and take classes and talk to customers, because that's the best way I'm going to learn something. They're not going to read emails, they're not going to do surveys, but actually talking and seeing them and understanding what their problems like. At Brits, I met so many members I had met before last night, and they know who I am, because every single studio phone goes to my cell phone. Every email comes to me 24/7. Like, that's how I have to keep the business going, is taking care of our customers. And what I see is, really trying to focus. I wish we can just continue to go into Minneapolis, but Minneapolis is a challenging city right now for so many different reasons. But I think the first ring is where we would go. Eden Prairie, is Highland Park, St. Louis Park, that kind of thing. We looked at some places in Maple Grove before COVID, but it almost changes the whole model. I have to get 4 over there. And so if I can get 4 good deals all at once, before COVID, I probably would have did it. Right now, I'm just trying to expand the existing footprint of the metro area.
Got it.
Because there is that brand equity, because all of our members can use other studios. So there are times where we actually have opposite schedules. So on a Saturday, you can take Bar in Loring Park, or you can take Burn in Northeast, and flips on Sunday. So people actually can drive 5 or 10 minutes and have that free parking and go. Versus if I go to Maple Grove, there really isn't any economies of scale, even though for more affordable, and then it actually creates a whole new model of having a manager there.
Yeah, right.
As opposed to a district manager type of mindset, which we have here. So our manager handles all the yoga stuff and the fitness side, but if somebody gets sick last minute, she can go teach. Whereas, it's just harder to me being somewhere else.
Yeah. Do you see playing more of a franchisor role in the future and finding others to open studios all over the country?
It is a possibility, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I believe in what we do. I think, our mission of making yoga and fitness more accessible and talking to clients every day. What I love about our business is reading our Google reviews. And I send them to the teachers because it's all about them. I have nothing to do with it. But I don't know any other business that I've seen that we don't have, I might jinx it, but we have all 5-star reviews on Google. We have no 4s, no 3s, no 2s. We probably have 100, 150. And so I send them what they say. I'm like, this is all about you. And then name teachers. I'm like, this is such a fun business. How could it not work? And I think there's part of it, which I'm sure you appreciate. If you love what you do and you can somehow prove that it works financially, which we did before COVID. We finally made it after 5 years of growing and debt, but we made it. And then we lost it all when we were shut down. But one of my neighbors had said, you did it once, you can do it again. And I love what I do, and I can't see myself doing anything else. Like, I almost have to make this work because I don't want to go back to corporate. I said, I might go work at Trader Joe's. Those people seem happy, So I actually compare ourselves to Trader Joe's. I want to be happy. I want to have the customer service at Trader Joe's. I want to be able to do anything where my daughter walks in, they give her flowers on her birthday. The cashier does, And that's what our teachers, I said, if somebody comes in with their mother, don't even think about charging them. Let them take the class. So we give buddy passes, they bring people, and they have fun, and so sort of they stay with us.
I think I've never really thought about it like that, but the romanticizing of retail, whenever I've kind of worked a retail experience of whatever it was, whether it was like a volunteer thing or whatever, that ability to make someone's day is so cool. And I think that just does feel good. I've always thought that would be so fun to do. I thought even being a bartender, you could just really make someone's day. But that is really neat. I've never really thought about why that was so appealing.
Right? And you ask for an upgrade or something, and they have them, right? And they just spend all this time saying no. When you're like, first, it's not your money. Second, just do it, and you build that loyalty. And I think loyalty is really important. I think that's where your customers keep coming back because your customer service. And I think for us, it's what made it really easy is that there wasn't that much in the industry. So,
well, your culture is, you should be a brand manager for every culture. Because I do feel like, you've got studios in a community that's close to me, but I just, all the things that I hear about you and YogaFit are super positive, and so
big credit to my wife that now supports me while I get this thing back going, and our 3 kids that understand if I get a phone call, they're quiet. So it's a very interesting experience, as owning your own business for a family.
It is.
It's not an 8-to-5 job. I don't know if anything is anymore anyway. But for me, it's fun to see them. So my daughter's 14. She started her own business at 13 through the Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce, had a Shark Tank. She came in first place.
Stop it.
Yeah. So
that's
she
awesome.
Sustainable bikini business.
Oh, that's amazing.
Built her own website. And so she'll talk about logistics and supply chain, and it's just fun. And then
I love that.
Yeah, our other son's trading cards, and we do festivals together. We did Lynn Hills Festival, and he looks at me. He's 10 years old. He goes, "I'm doing more business than you, Dad." And he sold a bunch of cards. I had nothing to sell.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's a fun family thing too, which I think owning your own business teaches them a lot of different things. Good or probably more good than bad, but.
I remember my son saying to the cell phone salesman, "Don't sell her a phone. She's on it all day." But he got a finance degree, and he's in kind of tinkering around commercial real estate. And both my kids have a really great work ethic because your business doesn't work if you don't work it.
Right.
There might be a few lucky souls out there who have businesses that run themselves, but I have yet to figure out how that works. So
probably didn't start that way.
Right.
That's our goal, but
right. Absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you so much for taking this time. We have to find a way to do a deal together, and we'll just have to share a cold beverage on the street that you live on with my daughter,
Yes.
and you know, I will do whatever I can to help your causes and the things that you're doing, and look forward to supporting you and getting your business
And
back.
thank you for all you
rocking
do in the community too. Your firm does a ton of things, and I think that is a differentiator. I think giving back to the community not only helps the employees understand what they're doing. We're going to do something for the Crescent Grove, which is helps kids that are terminal or very sick give their parents a break in Golden Valley. So they basically give the parents a weekend off. So they take care of them, whatever situation they have. I'm on the board of the Believe Foundation, which gives money back to families that lose a child. They help send people to the Fates Lodge. So I think it's a little bit broader than when you get involved in the community. I think I probably get more out of it like you do than you give.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we're so blessed to have the drive to work this hard and to be able to take, you know, the blessings that we get and be able to make the community feel better is, you know, it just feels so good. Yeah. So, yeah, it's
thank
really
you for
good.
all what you guys do too.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
We'll
It was really
see
fun.
you around.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.